In late 2005, Patty Fisher acted to make a dream come true, and less than a year later, that dream is taking root.
We need to empower the people and give the children an even playing field to make sure there's a PC in every home, to see what we can, that we can work towards that. We have people who can give us the PCs at no cost.
Patty called her dream project Knowledge Hookup.
I'm Patty Fisher, and I'm one of the founders of Knowledge Hookup, which is a community technology center. And it's on the east side of Chicago at 3457 East 106th Street. And what we offer folks is basic and intermediate PC and internet skills. We also work with Olive Harvey and bring in English as a second language and GED in Spanish. What we try to do is help people through life. We're kind of like life coaches, and what we do is we take the knowledge you know and we build on it. The more you learn about yourself and what your needs are, the less stress you should have. And that's what causes all the violence. You know, it's like, how do I better myself? What do I do? I'm up against the wall, so what's the first thing you do? You lash out. So, kids lash out, so they get into gangs. Parents lash out, so they beat each other up. So what we have to do is re-educate people on what's good for us. What does a family really mean? What are your jobs as family members? What's a kid really supposed to do? How is the parent supposed to help the kid? You have to get into all these things because the falling apart of family here is what has caused all these other factions to take over. So, you can throw all the money you want to into certain things, but you really have to sit and talk to people and help them get through life. You can't just, hope this is going to work. It doesn't work that way. You really have to identify the problems, and each little neighborhood has its own problems. They're not all the same. So each little group needs a little knowledge hookup that can, is tailored for their area. And I think it would be a great resource.
You talked about the fact that it's been 9 years since it began. Yeah. Tell us how it began, how you began with this.
Well, I began because I was working with the Black Data Processing Association. I was with LaSalle Banks, and we would go out and help the different kids in the neighborhood. And then our mentor said, well, look in your neighborhood and see what you need. And to my shock, all the equipment was older than the children, and half of it didn't work. I started working with a couple of the schools and all the social workers, and we tried to figure out what we needed. And so we put our plan together. But the more we were working on it, the more we understood that the parents are the ones who needed more help than the children. So we were trying to help on both factions, and what it moved along to was help educate the parents so they could better direct their children and make sure they get the education they needed.
As I recall, at the time it started, when Knowledge Hookup began, this was the most computer illiterate or impoverished part of the city.
Yes, most of the kids were all on the food program. I think the average between all the schools here was 95% on the free food program. So, and the majority of the families were making between $24,000 and $40,000, okay? And that's for like 5 to 8 people in the family. So that is no money, and that's a lot of friction going on. So, and a lot of people were only used to going to 5th grade. So when they came here, they kind of didn't understand how things worked. So everything was done on a cash basis. They didn't understand banks very well. They didn't trust them. They still don't trust the government much. So I make sure I have a meet and greet every once in a while so they can learn who the politicians are and know they can talk to them. We try to introduce people to things that are foreign to them. And, when you come to a different country and you're isolated, and you don't even know who's on your block. A lot of the people who have come here actually met their neighbors. and they never even knew that 2 doors down, you know, was somebody from my same town, you know, in Mexico or in South America. And so it opened up a lot of doors. I had a lot of guys too who were laid off or who were masonries who got hurt. And so we would bring them in, you know, to teach them skills, to teach them what else they might be able to do. And it seems to work out pretty good. So everybody really likes the place. And the thing about Knowledge Hookup is it's non-threatening. It's very homey. It's like a safe haven, you know, and people love to come here. Some people love to come here just to get on the internet, maybe play Sudoku. One gentleman who comes in all the time would always try to find math problems for his grandchildren, or try to find other things or do research. I mean, and other folks, their kids are all over the place, so they had to get an email account and learn how to download photos. So when the minute they did that, it was like another world. So with the new phones and the new tablets and all this, we're finding that a lot of the seniors like the tablets, you know, and they do all the FaceTime talking to each other so they can see all their relatives and feel like they're there. And that's another thing that we walk people through and help them with. And so we're kind of like, okay, what you looking for?
As I recall, early on, there were a situation where the public school system was starting to put grades online or make them accessible online, and you were helping parents and grandparents begin to tap into that so they'd know how the kids were doing. And it seems to me that was an early important function too, am I right?
That plus the teachers had to do everything online as well, and they didn't know how to work the computers. I even had some doctors who asked for help because they had to do everything online and didn't know anything about computers. And they didn't want anybody else to know that they didn't know anything about computers. And when I worked at the bank too, there were a lot of CEOs who really didn't know how to do a lot of things, so you had to help them first thing in the morning, you know, to get to their email, to get them, you know, on board with things. So it was always pretty funny with who really knew and who didn't. Or if one guy would say, hey, I have this new PC or that, you know, then all of a sudden they wanted it. They never found out if it was compatible with everything in the business world, but so the people who are not in the know are the ones who are trying to give you a directive, and it seems like that across the board. But I would teach people at Lebanon Lutheran. I even had one where I taught them out in Indiana. It's my senior groups. And then I hooked in, they built a new Southeast senior satellite center in South Chicago. So we went there and we teach computer there. And when we're done, they have their email account. They can do all that, and they get a little certificate that, you know, they completed that. And they can always come here and ask us or call us, and you know, we make new friends all the time. It's a wonderful venue, and what we do too is we work with the Chicago Digital Access Alliance, and we brought in Google here to do Google apps. I know you were here for that. We also you know, tried to work with the chambers. On occasion we would go in and do that, and we also help the businesses. We'll help you do your flyers and things, and we work with the vets. You know, we do a lot of stuff for the American Legion and VFW and disabled veterans, and the Lions. I'm a Lion, and I'm also an auxiliary. But you know, we help them with newsletters. We help them, you know, with marketing. We do things like that, and we also try to get people in touch with problems they might have. Now, what happens is a lot of the kids around here are really sick, and the parents can't always ask the right questions of the doctors and things. So we bring them in, we try to find out what they're trying to ask. We write it down in English, you know, so that when they go in, they have everything they need. And then if the doctor could just write it down, what they need, and then we'll translate it here. We've done a lot of that. Also, when they're going into school and if there's a problem with the kid or he's not learning something, we help them with that. And we can also help, as long as the parent is here with the child, we'll work with them. We found that just having the kids here by themselves or without an instructor just does not work out very well. But a lot of times, even when the parents are in class, we'll have the kids on a PC with their little headsets on, and they're working a program or they're doing something. And we're also trying to get involved with teaching programming to kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. We're working on that right now to bring it into the school system in Chicago.
I think it's unique, it has been unique for the longest time that you made this available to the community, and it's been pretty much a case of you come in, you get the benefit, and it costs you nothing.
We're such a small operation that we work on so little money that no matter who we tell about, they're just like, only that, So I have to, just get more funding somehow. I've been trying to work out different things, but we're just a really small shop, and we like it that way because it's easier on the people who come in here, because then it takes them so long to meet somebody and to trust them that, if you always have an influx of people, they get unsettled. So, and their lives are so confusing already, and don't get me wrong, some people are extremely poor here, and there's some people that do have money, and that's why other people would get mad at me for not charging. But this is something that this government should be providing for people. They need somewhere where they can figure out things, and they don't have that. We don't have any workforce development here. We don't have anything like that. They keep shoving money all over the city, and nobody puts any money here. And it's really hard. But what we do too is we work with the state of Illinois, with Illinois WorkNet. We help people do their resumes. We tell them how, we work with them on how to interview, and we help them find jobs. I don't know how many different people have come in here and thanked us for they said, every time I come in here and apply for something, I get a job. And not everybody works, where they're going to stay there for the next 40 years. So, when that job's done, because some are limited, then they come back and then they find another one. So we've been really, really lucky. But what we found out mostly is you have to have a computer, and they're really looking for people that have a GED. And what I told the people here too, they are so lucky because here you can take your GED in Spanish. You can't do that throughout the country. I don't even know if you can do it throughout Illinois, I'm not sure. But I know when I work with people from Las Vegas and things like that, oh, we don't do that. If you can't speak English, you can't get in our GED program. And it's like, well, they probably can speak English, but they learn better in Spanish. Oh, that doesn't matter. Okay, so that's the kind of thing. And there's all this workforce information online that's only in English. And if that's not your first language, it's very difficult sometimes to learn. Olive Harvey has worked with us for the last 9 years. I've worked with the Chicago public school system and with the city of Chicago and city colleges. So our main thing is to get people educated on what they want to do. I mean, not everybody is going to go to college. Nobody cares about it. There aren't a lot of people who care about it. Other people just, want to work on machinery. Or, we have a car show usually once a year, and we have all these guys who do all kinds of things, either, with the hot rods, the low riders, the antiques, and it's just so much fun. I wish one day we could make money on it. But we have a good time. We bring out everybody. We try to have a theme. We've had it even where, I like to do the military. I like to have an honor guard, open up the ceremonies. And 2 years I've actually had the Tuskegee Airmen, who give airplane rides to children, so I try to get that word out. And also the Buffalo soldiers. And they're a great group too because they train teenagers on horseback riding and to do rodeos. I mean, what a wonderful set of folks. I mean, so I expose the neighborhood to that. And what I try to do is bring all the little neighborhoods together, you know, that are part of the community. And, you know, everybody gets along, everybody has a great time. They learn something new, like we had healthy cooking one time, we had the gardeners, we had the different tree people, so you could end up, you know, ending up with a tomato plant and some sort of tree. And everybody just has a really good time.
What are your immediate concerns now for the future as you're looking ahead?
Well, for the future, I need funding as always, and we're working towards that. And I know it's difficult for everybody because there's no money out there for that. And I know they keep trying to do these big workforce things, but if you have smaller ones, you know, why are you giving out millions of dollars to just one neighborhood? It baffles me every time I go to something, and it's like, you know, they'll get part of it going and part of it will be all okay, and then all of a sudden it's all gone. No, it just is really kind of scary, but that's okay too. We keep going, and people just like us, and other people will donate something else, and then we'll try to have a little fundraiser with that, you know. But and one of the things I found out too, I had a lot of kids who wanted to work with me in the summer, and the littler kids between like 10 and 14, what they are really good at is working with the seniors. So I had them working with the seniors. So that really worked out well, and so did working with the disabled. We work with South Chicago Parents and Friends, and the group that would come in, they learned a lot. They were really good. They were open to everything. They were having so much fun all the time, and I really like working with all the different groups and all the different kids, and I think they like coming here too. So personally, I want people to know about Knowledge Hookup and to understand how useful it really is, and that people shouldn't have to feel that they're unimportant or no good and they have no way out. And that's what it seems like when we do a lot of things at the schools. And we, as a matter of fact, we had one of the best family literacy programs through Jesse White, and we had the whole family was there. We had dads there, which I know was thrilling the people downstate. You know, we had everybody there, and the alderman too was really great on giving us things for the families. And like around Christmas, he gave us coats to bring to there to disseminate. And you know, sometimes we'd even go to the local grocery stores and get $25 gift certificates. So when the parents came, they got a little gift. The kids got a little something, a little treat, because it was always after school. So you have to give them a little food, you know, and a little something. And then they also got like crayons and coloring things. And we did all kinds of little activities with the family. And we did it at the school and at the library. See the whole library, understand how it worked, got their library cards. You know, the parents did, because the kids are still too little, because they were between 3 and 7. But if their older counterparts were there, you know, we also had them involved up to like about 15 years old. So everybody ended up being there, whether they sat there and read or actually got, you know, got involved with the family. They were there. Lakeside is coming in eventually, and the folks here need to know what it takes to actually be able to stay living here. And one of the things is education and learning English. And they're becoming more and more receptive to that, and they have a deeper understanding of how important it is for them to get ahead. And they don't have a lot of places to go to for all the above. So here's where they come. And I wish I could do more, but I don't have the funding. Like, I have other people who want to come here and like do a real workforce development. Like, we could get involved with the chambers and bring people in who want to do small businesses. The head of innovation for IIT, and he wants to have a pilot program which would have 25 people who are trying to start a business, and they would take this class that we would provide, and at the end get $5,000. They would have their business plan all completed. They would have all their marketing together, and then go from there. So they would have completed the college course plus have all these things to go forward. But I have a lot of different people who come to me, to try to get these things started. Like even with the programming from early on to graduation. They're starting it down in Carbondale, and they want to do it here. They want to try to get into the Chicago public schools. Because if you can teach kids to program in kindergarten, that is so wonderful. I don't even know what to say. This is my intern for the summer. This is Allison Zufko. And what are you getting your degree in?
I'm going to University of Illinois in Champaign to complete my Master's of Science in Technology Management. So I had the opportunity to take an internship for the summer. I had to pick one, so I picked Knowledge Hookup. Because like Patty explained earlier, it's not just when you come in the door, you're limited to just learning how to work a computer. It's much more, and it really does give you tools for your whole life. They help you with anything. Like,
how did you like working for me in the summer? What was that like?
I loved it. That's why I came back to do my internship here. We really do. You meet and you work with a bunch of different people. People just, they love to learn new things, and this generation is all technology. And it's not fair to people that, that aren't literate on computers to not be able to work them because of lack of knowledge. And Knowledge Hookup provides that ability and the knowledge they need to go forth.
And two, what direction are we going in? We're just getting more and more industry. I guess that's what they want for us, but and that too brings in problems. But we also have to learn how to train our folks on that. And if you can't speak English, you can't understand anybody, and have no knowledge of math, even simple math, how are you going to be able to work? That's the bottom line. And if you can't work a computer, where are you going? You're going nowhere. So, and some people, we do try to get them through different things too with starting a business. What do you need to start a business? How do you go find out a name? How do you go, do this and that? And a lot of people start businesses around here, but they never get set up right, and they're closed before you know it. And that's a horrible way to lose your money. But I think this is extremely important, and the neighborhood really needs it. And just by how everyone is just coming here, whether it's politicians or community reps or whatever, it's definitely needed in the neighborhood.
I applaud all those folks who are using computers for the first time. Like anything, when you learn it brand new, sometimes it can be intimidating or frustrating. But at the same time, the more time and effort you put into it, the easier it becomes. I was just telling the ladies in the back that my mother got her first computer at 67. She's 72 now. We bought it for her, and we paid for the internet, and she was scared to death of it for 2 years. It sat there, and nobody ever used it. In fact, we had to upgrade it before she ever even used the market. And now if you go by there, my mother emailing pictures of her grandchildren all over the country to her friends. She's writing letters, she pays her bills online, and now she feels like she can't live without her computer.